Okay, good evening, everyone. So in the last classes, we discussed about the storage classes of the S3. So now today we will go with the different features available on S3 service. And the first feature of the S3 service is static website hosting. That means by using the S3 bucket, we can host a static website. First, what is a static website? What is a static website? Static website is the website which doesn't have any server side scripting, some kind of a things. Like, let us say if you go for something like Java, that requires some kind of a server side scripting and all the things. The best example for the static website hosting is HTML websites. Whatever the web pages you have with only HTML or CSS, they are called as a static websites. By using the S3 bucket, you can host any type of static website hosting. Generally, to host a website, what exactly we need? What all we need to have? Let us say you have a developer, so they gave you some kind of website. Website means it contains a lot of web pages, like it can be having only single page or multiple pages. And now you need to host this website. Hosting a website means anybody can access that website from anywhere across the globe. To host a website, the first thing what we need to have is a web server. Which web server we need? That depends on which language the website was designed. If it is a .NET website, then you might require IIS. If it is a PHP, you need like Apache. If it is a Java, you require some kind of a Tomcat or whatever it is, right? So in the same way, this is nothing but a kind of a software. Web server is nothing but a software. To install this software, you need a storage and you need some kind of operating system, and it might require some kind of what we call that middleware. Like, let us say if it is a Java application, it requires some kind of Java runtime environment, some dependencies, and then you need some kind of CPU, RAM, and you need some kind of a physical hardware also, like power supply, network cables, internet connectivity, all these things, right? If you have all this set up, then only you can host a website. And this Amazon S3 service will provide you a feature to host any static website without worrying about all the things. So this is our S3 bucket. So we will create one S3 bucket. So assume that your developer gave you one web page which is designed in HTML. How the web page looks like? A single page website. It will have some kind of a name like index.html or home.html or test.html, whatever it is, that doesn't matter. But extension will be in the HTML format. I can consider this as a static website. It doesn't have any database or it doesn't have any server side scripting or anything. So I can take this as static website. Now, if I place this file here, or this particular web page might have some kind of dependency files, because this index.html page, whenever you open this page, it might have like a lot of images here. So all these images will be stored in a folder. In the folder, they will maintain all the images and the paths will be designed in the index. So the developer will give you this entire folder as a website. What I do is I will upload all these pages into the S3 bucket. Assume that they are providing a static website hosting. So I configured and I enabled the static website hosting feature on this particular S3 bucket. Now the question is, what is the minimum required things that a user can access the web page? Whenever you upload any object into the S3 bucket, by default, all the objects are a private, right? Anybody can access the private object? No, because while they are accessing, they are not providing any kind of username or password. Even if you do like you're trying to open yahoo.com, homepage will be loaded without any username and password, right? Because they will maintain every web page as a public object. So while you're uploading these objects, you have to make all the objects as a publicly readable. We can say public access, these objects to be public. And once we enable the static website hosting, automatically they will generate one URL. How you can access the websites? Like abc.com, xyz.com. This is how we can access, right? Whenever you enable the static website hosting, they will generate one URL. That URL will be automatically generated based on the name of the S3 bucket. Based on the name of the S3 bucket, the URL will be generated, and you have to give this URL to the users. So by using this URL, the users can access the website. What if your website is having multiple web pages? Index.html, contact.html, support.html. It has 3 or 4 different web pages are available. Whenever the user is trying to access the URL, the website URL, which web page will be loaded? Which page will be loaded? Like index.html or support.html or contact.html? Actual requirement is always the home page to be loaded, right? But your S3 bucket don't know which page is the home page. So while we are going to enable the static website hosting, we have to mention which is the default document. That means which is the default web page that to be displayed to the user. Always we will use index.html. Like if I open yahoo.com, do you think that the yahoo.com is having only single page? No, it will have multiple pages, right? If I click here, it might take me to a different page, right? In the same way, if you open rediff.com, by default, the home page will be open, but here there are different pages like home, news, business, there are things, right? If I click on something else, then it will take me to a different page in the rediff.com website. That means in the backend, they will maintain a lot of web pages under the same website. But every time you open the rediff.com, it will open the home page only. Because the home page will have some name, right? Home.html or home.php, whatever it is. That they will configure in the web server. In the same way, whenever you are using the S3 bucket to host a static website, you have to mention which web page to be loaded by default, and that is called as default document. That is called as default document. So if you know that designing, you can design a web page or any website you can open, just right click on that and you can click on save as, so that only this page will be downloaded, not the entire yahoo.com website. Only whatever the page you can see, that page will be downloaded. Let me right click and let me save the web page so that we will use that web page as our website. Let me click on save as and let me go to desktop and let me create one folder here. In that folder, I would like to place. How the web page will be saved is with this name. The web page name will be this one, which is a little bit long, right? So what I do is I will change this as index.html. So the entire web page will be saved as index.html. Now you can see it is getting downloaded. Along with the web page, all these images will be downloaded into a separate folder. Because those images to be loaded, right? Somewhere it has to be saved in your web server itself. So it will take some time to download. Once it got downloaded, we will use that particular web page to host our website. So here you will get the index.html page and you will get all the associated files. Just you have to wait. And if you have your own web page, you can take that also. It seems it is downloaded. If I open this, you can see the index.html page here. And on that HTML, it has a lot of images and a lot of files are there, right? Those will be downloaded into a separate folder. These are the images and supporting web pages. So what we have to do is, if you upload this entire documents, this entire objects, that will be represented as single web page. Okay. So now what I do is we will use this particular web page or the website to host on S3 bucket. because the S3 bucket only supports a static website hosting. So S3 provides, or S3 support static website hosting. That means you cannot host any dynamic website. Dynamic website means if the web pages contains any server-side scripting like JavaScript, okay, those kind of server-side scripting web pages will not work. So whatever the website I downloaded, it might have some kind of server-side scripting also. That block will not work. The other things will work. The web page will be displayed. If there is any module which runs on the dynamic web page, that will not load it properly. That you can observe also. So S3 supports static website hosting, and automatically they will generate one website URL also. When we enable static web hosting on S3 bucket, it will generate a URL to access the website, and the URL will be based on the bucket name. So that we will verify, that we will check that like by creating or by hosting our website. Assume that already you have a website, like you have the all web pages, all the code or all the images. Now what we do is host a static website, host a static website on S3 bucket. The requirements is the first thing, you must have a web pages, a single web page or multiple web pages, and the web page must be static web page. You can use any HTML and CSS web pages, because CSS also includes into the static website. So first, what all we have to do is first create S3 bucket, and I will use the name as static website, and for uniqueness I will use today's date. This will be the name of the S3 bucket. While creating the S3 bucket, enable ACL and disable block all public access. Why we need to enable ACL and we need to disable the public access? Because without enabling the ACL, whatever the web pages we are uploading, we cannot make them as a public. And if this option is selected, it will prevent you from making any object as a public object. Then we have to upload the entire website directly into the S3 bucket. Don't upload it as a folder. You have to upload the contents. What is the meaning of that? This is the folder, right? If I upload this, Amazon will not identify where is that particular index.html. So you have to give the full path, like /website/ index.html. So this is the content. This you have to upload. Okay. Upload the entire website directly into the S3 bucket. And while uploading, make all the objects as public. Because if any object is not public, that is not accessible by anybody. Then enable static website hosting and configure the default document. Sometimes we can call that as a root document also. Root document means main document or main page. So if you have like index.html, home.html, support.html, which web page to be loaded by default, that we can mention in this default document. And there is also one more concept called error document. What might be that error document? if there is something wrong with your default page, default web page. So generally the users will get a 404 page not found error or some different errors, right? Instead of showing that different errors, we can show some meaningful message, like we can create a separate page error.html. And if you configure the error.html, whenever the main web page is not loading, then automatically it will display the error.html to the users, like a website under maintenance or any kind of custom message we can display that we can see at the time of creation. So already we downloaded rediff.com homepage as a website, a single page website. Now we are going to use that web page to host on our S3 bucket. Generally, when we use the static website hosting is just to maintain some kind of informational website, like what is happening or what kind of information you would like to share. For that, directly you can use the static website hosting feature on S3 bucket. Okay, right. So now let us go ahead and let us create the S3 bucket and let us host our first static website. So first log into your Amazon account and click on S3 service, like to navigate to your S3 service. Okay, before that, I would like to show you one more thing, like how can you upload any object as a public directly. Yesterday we have seen, like once you upload the object, we converted that into public, right? So how can you upload any object directly is, so just you can select any object. That Glacier part we will check after the static web hosting. So you can select any object. Before clicking on upload, you have to click on permissions. So here you can select grant public read access, so that the object will become public object by default. That's how you can upload any object as a public directly. Even that you can cross check also, which is the object. This is the one, right? No, this is the one. So here, this is the object URL. If I click on that, it will be able to load because there's already public. Okay. So the same way we are going to convert all our objects of website to be public at the time of uploading, because there are like hundreds of objects available. I cannot select each and every object manually, and I cannot make them as a public, which is a difficult task. Okay. So what is the first step? First, we have to create a bucket, right? Let me click on create bucket. And this is the name which we are going to use. You can use your own name, that doesn't matter, but the name must be unique. Click on create bucket. Give some name to your S3 bucket. Select the region in which you would like to create the S3 bucket. Let us say if most of your users are from India, then which region is recommended? Mumbai. Always we need to maintain our services close to the end users. What is the problem if I maintain in the Northern Virginia? Speed. Technically, we can call that as a latency. Whenever the server is far away from the users, there will be high latency. What is latency? What is the latency? Okay, so let us say you type yahoo.com in the browser. What will happen in the backend? First, a request will be sent to the yahoo.com server, and the server will send you a response in terms of web page, right? So if the server is far away, the time takes to send a request and to receive the response is high. That is called as a latency. If the time is high, we can say it as a high latency. So obviously the performance will goes down. Okay, so select the Northern Virginia region. And in the object ownership, our recommendation is to enable ACL. Select ACLs enabled, so that using these ACLs, we can convert our objects into public objects. If you disable, you cannot convert the objects into public using the ACL. Then scroll down and this must be unchecked. What will happen if you select this option? You cannot make any object into public using ACL. This will prevent you from making any object into public. Once you uncheck this box, you have to acknowledge that you are okay that to convert or to disable this particular option. Like a kind of acknowledgement to disable the block all public access feature. Then scroll down, and we are not going to deal with all these options right now, like versioning, encryption, that we can discuss later. Just click on create bucket. We created one empty bucket. While creating, we enabled ACLs and we disabled block all public access feature. And what is the access here? Objects can be public. What might be the access if you enable block all public access? Bucket, you cannot see that objects can be public. You can see a different message. I will show you. That means objects are not public. Let me create some thing. The meaning will be objects are not public. Buckets and objects not public. If you see the access as this, that means no object will become public in that bucket. If you see objects can be public, that doesn't mean that by default your objects are public. You can make any object into public object. That is the meaning. Okay. So now we need to upload our website into this particular bucket, right? Click on the bucket. You will be taken to that particular page. And we have to click on upload. And last time what we have done, we clicked on add files and we selected each and every file and everything, right? Instead of that, there is another way that you can drag and drop all the files and folders at a time. So how to drag and drop? So this is the folder, right? Wait a second. So here, these are the files. Let me select this and let me drag and drop on this page. So total how many? 107 objects. In that folder, it has a lot of objects. Total 107 objects. If I click on upload, what will happen? Objects will be uploaded without public. And to which storage class it will be stored? By default, it is a standard. So which storage class is recommended to place the web pages? Standard only. Why? Because website means that will be accessible regularly, right? So if you maintain these web pages in a standard IA, along with the storage cost, there will be an additional cost called retrieval charges. To avoid the retrieval charges, you have to maintain the web page in the standard storage class. If you would like to check, you can click on properties and you can check what is the storage class. And at the same time, these objects must be public. To make the objects public, click on the permissions tab and select grant public read access. What is the meaning of this? Anybody can read your objects, but they cannot modify or they cannot delete. Select grant public read access. And then check the box. I understand the risk of granting public read access. What is the risk? Anybody can see your data. If you make any of the confidential objects into public, everybody can see your data. Okay, then just scroll down and ignore all the options for now. Later we can discuss all these things and click on upload. Because these are very small size objects, so obviously it will take some time to upload. Have you ever tried like uploading 1 GB single file and 1 GB of multiple files at a time, which might take a lot of time to upload? Always the smaller files will take a lot of time. Because if it is a 1 GB, continuously it will copy the data and it will upload. If it is like 5 KB file, 5 KB file, every file, it will take some kind of pass, and it will upload only 5 KB at a time. If it is a 1 GB file, depending on your internet speed, it can upload at a time like 200 KB, 500 KB, like that. If you see, it is able to upload only 25.5 KB per second, because every file is a small file. Size is like 4 KB, 10 KB, 13 KB. For uploading just 2.5 MB or something, it will take like a lot of time. If you upload a single file with 2.5 MB, it will upload within like few seconds. That's not the AWS related thing. That's like how the internet works. If you upload single 1 GB file, it will take like 5 minutes. Just for an example, if you upload 100 KB files of like 1000, that will take a lot of time. So the data is getting uploaded and all the objects will become public automatically, because at the time of uploading, I selected that the objects to be public. Completed. There are 2 more files to upload. Total remaining the folder structure will be the same like how you upload. How we uploaded one file and one folder, right? The same way you can see them in the S3 bucket also. Okay, so it seems the website got up, the web pages got uploaded. Total 107 files, which is 2.5 MB, and you can see the status as succeeded. So if I click on close, you can see that there is only one HTML file and one folder. That folder contains a lot of objects. Like what are the objects you uploaded? All the objects you can see. Now the question is how to enable the static website hosting, right? To enable the static website hosting feature, click on your S3 bucket on which you would like to enable the static website hosting. And then here you can see there are a lot of tabs, right? Click on the properties tab. Click on the properties tab. And if you scroll down at the bottom, you can see an option called static website hosting. By default, the static website hosting is disabled. We have to enable it. Click on edit. Click on edit against static website hosting. Click on edit against static website hosting. Select enable. Select enable. And here under the hosting type, select host a static website. Then here you have to use index document or default document or root document. Both are all are same. Index document, default document or root document. So which document you would like to open? Let us say the user is trying to access the website. You have like 3 web pages: index.html, contact.html and support.html. Which web page to be displayed? That name you have to mention here. Let us say if your web page name is like abc.html, then you have to mention index.html here. And do we have any error document? We don't have any yet, right? You can design one and you can mention that also. But this is optional that we will see once we are done with this website hosting. Just scroll down to the bottom and click on Save Changes. Now, where is the website URL? Once you enable static website hosting, then you can see the URL. This is the website URL. This is the website URL. So how can we differentiate that this is a website URL or an object URL? Let us say, if you see the same index.html page, wait a second. If you go to object and if you click on any object, every object will have an object URL, right? The second one is the object URL. How can we identify that which one is the object URL and which one is the static website URL? Because both looks like same, right? If I remove this, that will be the bucket URL, S3 bucket URL. The thing is, the website URL contains this one, S3-website. If the URL contains S3-website, then the URL belongs to the static website URL. If it does contains only like S3 dot something, that is a regular object URL. Every static website hosting website URL contains S3-website. The meaning of this URL is the website is hosted on this S3 bucket, and this indicates the URL is the static website, and this is the region in which the bucket is available, and this is the regular one, Amazon AWS.com. But do you guys recommend this kind of URL for your websites? No, right? This is not looks good. Generally, how we need to have a web page, like with your company name, right? abc.com, xyz.com, like that. But how can we avoid this kind of things? So you have to register one domain name, like in general terms, you have to purchase one domain name, website name like abc.com. So they will provide you some kind of a DNS. So you have to point your actual domain name with this one. So if someone accesses abc.com, they will be connected to this website. That part will be covered in a service called Route 53. Route 53 is a service which provides the domain registration and the DNS service. But till then, we are going to use the default URLs only. If I use this particular URL, what will happen? The website which we hosted on our S3 bucket will be accessible. But if you access your rediff.com, you can see some values will be changing because there is a dynamic, right? But here you cannot get that. These values will change and these advertisements will change there. But here you cannot, the web page, the advertisements will not get changed. And you can see everything looks same, right? And you can see I'm not connected to the rediff.com. I connected to my website, which is hosted on the S3 bucket. Or you can design your own web page and you can host that web page also. Instead of downloading this rediff.com or yahoo.com, you can create your own web page using basic HTML and you can host that also. So now what I do is, what will happen if the index.html got deleted by mistakenly or something went wrong with that? Let us say index.html got deleted by mistakenly. Just I'm deleting the object. Delete objects. So the object got deleted, right? Now what will happen to the users whenever they're trying to access the web page? There is no index.html. So they will get error. Access denied. Because there is no such index.html page is available. So to avoid this kind of error messages, we can create our own custom message also. You can design your own home error page and you can save it as error.html and you can update the configuration of the static website. So first thing, how can we create a basic HTML without any CSS or anything? Just open a notepad, just a basic HTML page. We don't get any design or anything, just a simple statement. Just you can write whatever it is, like I can say website under maintenance. You can write anything, that doesn't matter. But this has to be saved as HTML page. How to save is, don't click on save. Click on save as and save as type. change it to all files. Change it to all files and select your folder where you would like to change and type error.html. If you don't change the save as type to all files, what will happen there is the file will be saved as error.html.txt, which will not be a web page. So change this to all files and save it as error.html. So what happened here? You can see there is error.html pages there. So I will upload this error.html. I will upload this error.html to the web page. And I will configure that if there is no default page, index page is available, I would like to display the error.html page to the users. Create a error.html page and upload it to the S3 bucket as public object, and then configure error document for static website hosting. So what will happen? Whenever there is no index document, error document will be displayed. So delete the index document and access the website. So what will happen? Error document will be displayed. And again, what will happen if the index document is available? Error document will not be displayed to any user. Upload the index document and access the website. The thing is, as far as the index document is available, index document will be displayed to the users. Whenever the index document is not available or not accessible, then the users will be displayed with error document. If there is no index document available, then only the error document will be displayed. That's an automated. Okay, that's an automated method. So now we don't have any index document available, right? So if I configure this, then automatically the users will get error.html page as a website. After some time, what I do is I will replace or I will upload the index document again. Without doing any modifications, automatically the users will be able to see the index document automatically. When this will be used is, let us say if you would like to do some kind of maintenance, you would like to modify a lot of pages and everything. So while you're doing that, the users will get some kind of error message. Instead of displaying such kind of random error messages, you can display this error document, like maintenance website is under maintenance or something. Whenever you are done with the maintenance, you can replace the index.html page. So automatically the users will get web page access. That's how it will work. Okay, right. So now what I do is, already we created the error.html. Let me upload that error.html to the S3 bucket as public object. And let us configure or reconfigure the static website hosting features. So how to upload? So this is the bucket. Just go to your S3 bucket. Click on upload, add file, and this is the error.html. Select the error.html and just select it as a public, same as like how you uploaded the index document. Upload. Okay, so now what will happen if I refresh the web page? Nothing, but because we haven't configured our static website features, right? The configuration we have to do. So how to do that? The first thing, how we enable the static web hosting? Properties. Click on edit. So here you have to mention error.html. What is the meaning of this is error document will be returned when an error occurs. If there is an error while accessing the website, then the error.html will be displayed to the users. That is the meaning of the error document. Okay, then just click on save changes. Now, if I refresh, I can start seeing this. Right? Okay. Now, what I do is I will upload the index.html. So in my bucket, I will have error.html and index.html also. What will happen in that case? Which object will be displayed? Okay. If I upload the index.html as a private object, then what will happen? Now I am uploading the index.html as a private object. Now what will happen? The users are able to see the index.html page. Then what they will get if it is a private? They should get 404 error, right? Because that is an error, automatically the error.html will be displayed. Whenever there is an error, automatically they will get the error.html page to be displayed. Okay. So now I will make that index.html as a public. Then there should be no error, right? Now the users will start displaying the actual web page. Simple thing, whenever there is an error on your website, automatically it will display the error.html page. If there is no error with your website, then the error.html will not be displayed. If I delete the index.html, there will be an error. If the index.html doesn't have the proper permissions, again, there will be an error, right? In all cases, automatically the error.html page will be, error.html page will be displayed. If there is no errors on your website, then the web page will be loaded for the users. This is how you can host any static website. You can design your own static website and you can host it. Okay, but you cannot host a dynamic website. And one more thing, I don't know like whether you observed or not, whenever you open the static, whenever you open the bucket, and if you click on the object, any object, you can see there are a lot of options, right? At least the first object overview. At least the first object overview, right? What all these are? I think owner, like who uploaded the object, right? Who is the owner of the object? In which region the object is available? When it was last modified? Size of the object? Type of the object. What is the meaning of a key? What is the meaning of a key? Name of the object. What is the object name? Index.html. That is referred as a key. Then already we know what is object URL. And what is this entity tag? That is a kind of a metadata. That is like a tag for that object, which is assigned by Amazon. We don't use that. And what about the remaining two? First, what is ARN? Amazon resource name. Every resource will have this kind of ARN. If you create S3 bucket will have ARN. ARN is unique name or unique identifier assigned by Amazon. This object will be identified by Amazon using this ARN. We will identify based on the name, right? But Amazon will identify using ARN, Amazon resource name. And what is this S3 URI? That is not URL. What is that S3 URI? Who will use that? Let us say if the developers are designing an application, and in the application, they would like to include this S3 bucket so that the application will store all the objects into S3 bucket. So they need to provide the location, right? We use the object URL or the website URL or the anything, right? But they have to use this S3 URI in their application designs. Whenever they are designing the application, and if they point the application to the S3 bucket, then they will use this particular URI. Like let us say in the website, they would like to load one image which is stored in the S3 bucket. So as a user, Using the browser, we can use this object URL, but this object URL will not work in the what we call that in that particular designs and everything. So this S3 URI will be used, especially whenever you use the CLI, AWS CLI tools like programmatic access. At that time, you have to use this S3 URI. Simple thing. Whenever you are using the programmatic access and you would like to access any bucket, you have to use S3 URI. If you are accessing using the tools or something like websites or web browsers, then we will use the URL. Going forward, we will use the programmatic access like to download the objects from S3 bucket and upload. At that time, we will see that we are going to use this S3 URI. Okay. Right. So on a final note, the S3 bucket or the S3 service will provide you static website hosting only, by using which you can host any kind of a static website. Static website means the website which doesn't use any server-side scripting like JavaScript. JavaScript is a kind of a server-side scripting, right? So such kind of websites you cannot host on S3 bucket. Any static websites you can host on S3 bucket. Is there any charges for enabling the static website hosting feature? There is no charge. The only charges are for how much data you have stored into the S3 bucket. Under the free tier, you will get up to 5 GB of storage per month using S3 storage. So hardly we are using like few MBs of data, right? Hardly this website contains 2.5 MB. So that's like almost like zero charges. Okay, right. So this is about the static website hosting. And are you guys clear on this static website hosting or any questions? If you are clear, yesterday before closing the session, we initiated a restore request on a Glacier deep archive object, right? By using the standard retrieval method. So in what is the bucket name? This is the bucket, right? And what is the object name? Deep archive, Glacier deep archive. This is the one. Before initiating the restore, there is no open option available, right? Let me select now and you can see it is open. Till what time I can access this object? If I click on open, the object will be loaded. That means that object is available for access. Can I access this object tomorrow? Day after tomorrow? After 1 week? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. So on what basis we can decide that this object is available for immediate access after 1 week or 1 month? At the time of initiating the restore, we selected the number of days that the object to be available, right? Let us say we initiated yesterday and I forgot about like how many days I mentioned. Where I can check that? If you click on the object, you can see that the restoration process is completed. And the restoration expiry date is July 3rd, 5:30 AM India time. Why 5:30 AM? Actually, I initiated the restore yesterday like about like 7:30 PM, right? So it will be like 28th, right? 29, 30, 1, 2. July 2nd, it has to be expired. But why it is showing like till 5:30? That means this object made available today morning, today morning at 5:30. The moment when the object is available, from that time, that will be available for the mentioned number of days. As it was available for access today morning 5:30, so 29th, 30, 1, 2, 3. Total 4 days it will be available. After that, it is not available for immediate access. Again, you have to initiate the restore process for access. Okay. So now we will go with few other small things also. How to delete an S3 bucket? Have you seen that? No. Okay. How to delete S3 bucket? Any S3 bucket we will try. So here we have three different buckets, right? I don't want to delete this website bucket now. We have two other buckets. So in the first bucket, which has some random name, right? If I click on that, how many objects are there? 0. Okay. And if I go for the my first bucket, there are 9 objects. So now first what I do is I will try to delete an empty bucket. Delete an empty S3 bucket. Delete S3 bucket, which is empty. What is the meaning of empty? No objects in the S3 bucket. Okay, so now how to delete is select the bucket and you can see there is one option called delete. Click on delete. Here to confirm deletion, enter the name of the bucket. What is the name of the bucket? This is the name. You can type or you can copy paste. Until you enter the name of the bucket, you will not get the button called delete bucket. Okay, just type it, then the delete bucket option will be available. So I got deleted it successfully. Now what I do is delete another bucket which has some objects in it. Now what will happen? If I try to delete that bucket, all the objects will be deleted. What will happen? Okay, so now let me try to delete that bucket which has some objects. Click on delete. What is the error? The bucket is not empty. So you cannot delete any bucket which has some data. So if you would like to delete any bucket, first the bucket must be empty. So you can write down like, to delete any S3 bucket, the bucket must be empty. If that bucket has at least one object, you cannot delete that particular S3 bucket. So how to delete the objects? How to delete the objects? You can select in objects individually and you can click on delete. So it will ask you to type permanently delete, right? You can type permanently delete and the object will be deleted. Let us say, what if it has 1000 objects? You can delete multiple objects at a time. Like you can select all objects at a time and you can click on delete. If it has 1000 objects, all the 1000 objects is not available in a single page, right? Let us say in a single page, it might show only 20 objects. So you have to do 50 times. So how can we delete all the objects at a time? So at the page, select the bucket, don't click on the bucket, select the bucket and you can see there is one option called empty. Click on the empty and it will ask you to type permanently delete. For confirmation, you have to type permanently delete and click on empty. So that entire bucket will be empty. If you go there, you can see 0 objects. So let me click on delete. So here you have to type the bucket name. Click on delete bucket. Because the problem with that is if there is no empty button, I will show you. So here we have like a lot of objects available, right? But not all the objects are available in the single page. You have to go to different pages also. I think, wait. I think all objects are available in the single page. Okay. But if it goes to a different pages, then you have to delete each and every page individually. So then that will be a problem. So directly you can select the bucket and you can click on empty. So entire bucket will be cleaned up and then you will be able to delete that particular bucket automatically. But while it has some data, you cannot delete any bucket. So all the objects like 120 or 107 objects got deleted. Now you can click on delete and you have to type that bucket name here. This is how you can delete any S3 bucket. But the thing is, if you would like to delete any S3 bucket, first that bucket must be empty. Okay, right. So now we have a few other features available on S3. Like that we can discuss in the next coming sessions, like versioning, encryption. These all are mandatory. You cannot skip any of these topics. Every feature can be used on a daily basis. Versioning, encryption, and MFA delete, lifecycle rules, and replication rules. And object lock is there, but we don't use that much, but we will cover that also. Object lock. So these are the features available on S3 bucket, which we have to cover. And also the important thing is bucket policies. Which one? Server access logging. Those are coming into the monitoring purpose, like server access logging. Whatever you do on your bucket, that will be maintained as an information, like as a log records. Every action will be recorded, like who accessed the object, from which IP address they accessed. All the information will be visible using the server access log. So these are the different features we have to cover on S3 service. Okay. So after this S3, we will go for other topics. S3 is also looks like the small one, but it has a lot of features. We have to cover all the things. Okay, right. So on S3, as of now, whatever we have covered, are you guys clear on those or any questions? Like storage classes and static website hosting. And before that, some basic overview, like type of object or type of storage, maximum object size. Okay, and one more thing, how many buckets I can create? By default, how many S3 buckets I can create? Is there any restriction? Any restriction? Yes. By default, you can create only 100 S3 buckets. 100. And that is a soft limit. What is the meaning of a soft limit? Which we can increase at any point of time depending on the requirement. And what are the maximum number of instances you can create by default? EC2 instances. I think already I mentioned that. In any region, like you can create only 20 instances by default. That is also a soft limit. That is also a soft limit, which we can increase by creating a what we call that limit increase request that you can see here. Like if you click on here, if you go to the support center, you can click on this question mark symbol and you will get the support center page. So here, click on create case. Wait, account and billing. Yeah, looking for service limit increases, right? If you click there, you can see service limit increase. So here you can select on for which service you would like to increase. EC2. And here you can select in which region you would like to increase. And what kind of instances you would like to use, primary instances that you can mention. And then you can write your description and you can click on submit. And if you'd like to check the quota limits, like what is the default limits and everything, here is the option, service quota limit dashboard. This is the place where you can check all the default limits. Let us say, let us check for the S3. Let me click on AWS services on the left side. So here I will type S3, Amazon Simple Storage Service. How many buckets? 100. Is it adjustable? Yes. Which can be increased. And bucket tags. That means tags. What are the maximum tags we can create? 50. That cannot be increased. Like even in the IAM also, we have seen the tags, right? Any service, the tags are 50. And here you can see maximum part size is 5 GB. What is the meaning of that? Whenever there is an object which is more than 5 GB in size, that will use multi-part upload feature. Let us say if you're uploading 6 GB file, so automatically it will be uploaded as 5 GB plus 1 GB, multi-part feature. And you can see by using the console, you can upload maximum 160 GB only. You cannot upload any object which is more than 160 GB using the console. Instead, you can use the CLI or you can use some third-party applications. Maximum object size is 5 terabytes. Okay. And maximum you can use 10,000 parts. Multi-part upload. Amazon is able to divide total into 10,000 parts. So 10,000 into 5. What will happen? 10,000 into 5. 50,000, right? But what is that? Sorry, not, 50,000. What is the each part size? 5 GB. 50,000 GB. What is the value of that? 50,000 GB. What is the value of that? Is that 5 terabyte? Less than 5 TB or 50 terabyte? No. So 5 GB into 10,000. So it's a 50,000 divided by 1024. How much it will be? 50 terabyte. Yeah, obviously 1000 GB is 1 terabyte, right? 50 terabyte. But the maximum limit is 5 TB only. Where is that? 5 terabytes. Okay, this is the place where you can check the service limits for any service. If you go for EC2, and in the EC2 also, how many elastic IPs you can get by default per region? How many? Elastic IPs, 5, which can be adjustable. Somewhere you can see the number of instances also. These are the reserved instances. On demand standard, it seems 32. I need to check, do they change or something? Earlier that used to be 20 only, but I have to check about this. So every year they will modify some values, almost like these kind of features and everything. But technically the way how it works will be the same. These values or the advanced features will be added. It seems the EC2 instances got increased from 20 to 32, it seems. Like especially on-demand instances. Reserved instances is 20 itself. In the same page, you can observe that the new reserved instances to be 20 per month, whereas the on-demand instances you can create up to 32, it seems. But I have to cross-check that. EC2 and these are the new reserved instances, not the on-demand. And if I go to the second page, but whenever I type instance, all standard spot instances, 32 is applied quota value. It seems 32. For all the things, spot instance is 32, on-demand instance is also 32. Okay, I have to cross-check that. Only for the EC2 instances, I have to cross-check. But the elastic IPs are 5 and the S3 buckets are 100. There is no change in those values. Okay, right. So Okay, so keeping these things aside, are you guys clear as of now or any questions? Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask me. And if you are clear, you guys can leave. Let us continue from tomorrow. Tomorrow we can go with versioning concept. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet tomorrow.